What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about what is going on when your sales are down. Maybe you know that, problem as an Amazon seller, PPC specialist, or, an agency contractor or agency owner, your account or the company that you're working with, the account, the sales are down and you're wondering why. Is it because you did something wrong, or is it just because of the market being down? And the answer on Amazon can be found in the search query performance report. So let's dive right into it. So maybe you know this sheet, I shared this before, but in general, you can just see with the search query performance report week over week or month over month on brand and ASIN level, how's the search volume developing, how's the impressions and the impression share developing. So is the pie getting bigger, or is the pie getting smaller, and how is our share of the pie developing? Specifically answering the question or the problem: if sales are down, is that due to us losing market share, or is it due to the market just being down in general? But what I did not like about this sheet is that it only shows the search query performance data. So this is data from Amazon, so that is the most credible data source that we have, because obviously Amazon can tell us anything, but at the end of the day, either we're consistent, for example, if you trust the business reports but then don't trust the brand analytics data, that would be inconsistent. But in general, data consistency and integrity on Amazon is something that needs to improve. But I just built this new sheet, this new version here, because the other sheet only showed the search query performance data, not the search just ads data and performance data. So on ASIN level, you can now evaluate, and this should be linked down below. You can see week over week how the total sales are developing for a product or like a portfolio in this scenario. And we can see, okay, sales are up and tacos is down. Obviously, that was due to the fact that it was Christmas, right? So sometimes you have to also take the, just take the data with a grain of salt and always cross-check it to the to your impressions in the ads reports, for example. But we can see in this example the search volume and the total impression count decreased by almost 60%, but our share of the impressions went up by 25%. Our click-through rate is better than the market. That's also interesting to see. Then obviously this is for the top 1,000 search terms and only for impressions or like metrics in general from the search page, not from the product detail page. But a misconception a lot of people also have is that it's from only ads data, right? I had senior account directors tell me, we shouldn't just look at ads data. No. The search query performance report, according to Amazon, is all data, organic data, according to the metric glossary. I'll link that down below where you can read it yourself. So it's also interesting to see our add to cart rate, from how many people put the product into the cart compared to how many people actually purchase. And that at the end of the day is the most interesting metric to look at, is our market share for purchases. At the end of the day, we can see purchases declined by 50%, but our purchases increased by 24%. Again, only from the top 1,000 search terms, only from the search page, not product detail pages, yada yada yada. But then you can also compare it to, which I previously didn't, your organic data, so your sessions, B2B sessions, page views, and just your B2B sales and order items, and also to your ads data. So you can see, okay, the tacos obviously is improving, and that's also obviously due to the fact that the unit session percentage or order item session percentage in this example went up. And then you can do the same thing on ASIN level. So for that ASIN here, for example, we see, okay, the tacos was relatively stable, slightly increased, but I mean, you can read the data for yourself. So I like to look at this data on 3 levels: first on the brand level, then the ASIN level, and lastly, for this I like to use Scale Insights. You can go to your keyword rank tracking, and then let's say, let's look at this product here. For the last 30 days, I like to look at our best performing ads keywords. That's the first filter I like to look at to, grow sales, if that's your intention, is to grow sales. And we can see that here, for example, we have a lot of, relatively strong performing search terms, but what is most interesting is to look at the purchase share. Obviously, this is our best-selling search term, but we can see, even though our conversion rate compared to the market is 6.2% better than the market, we can see we only get 2.63% in the last 30 days. For that ASIN, granted for that ASIN, for that search term. And that is according to Amazon. So at the end of the day, Amazon probably has more credibility than you and I, let's be honest, about the data on Amazon. That's just like, checking your ego, because at the end of the day, if you question that data, but then you don't question the business reports data, then let's be consistent. Let's be, let's have integrity and at least die over the same sword. But that's the first foot that I like to look at, is look at every search term, okay, that has strong sales. We clearly have sales velocity here. We have a relatively good ACoS here. For example, okay, 28%, relatively inefficient, but could be worse. But here 8%, 40%, 9%, 4%, and look at the purchase here, only 5% of all revenue at the end of the day in the market. Like, we only get 4% of the pie. And obviously, as a brand owner, PPC specialist, you want to have a bigger pie, a bigger share of the pie, right? So I like to look at the following filters. So we could look at everything for that ASIN. Maybe your break even CPC is you can see your break-even CPC here is 50 cents. It's just also important that you look at the relationship between organic sales and ad sales. If you have a high, percentage of organic sales, maybe like 70 to 30% organic sales compared to ad sales, you can tolerate and sustain a higher CPC in general, because, the percentage of ad orders is smaller. If you are more dependent on ad sales, in general, you have to pay more attention to break even. But I'm losing my train of thought. So the first thing I like to look at is, okay, you probably have a target ACoS on ASIN level. I would highly recommend that you do. That should be based on your, break even cost per acquisition and your conversion rate. Because, for example, if okay, your conversion rate is 10% for the last 14 days, and you have then in general, every 15th click is, every 10th click is converting. And then let's say you have your CPC is 50 cents, right? Then obviously, in general, you have to pay $5 for your, for you to pay before you get an acquisition, or your customer acquisition cost, your max customer acquisition cost. And let's say your margin is $5, just to keep the example simple. That would be your break-even bit. And so that's what you should dictate the target ACoS based off. So let's look at everything, let's say under 25%. You could also look at everything over 10% conversion rate. What I also like to look at is everything where we're clearly performing better than the market, according to Amazon. Again, that's not my opinion. That is according to data from Amazon, right? Which is why I love the Search Query Performance Report, which is obviously the most credible report. And then, let's look at everything under 25%. And then we could go ahead and also look at our averages here for the CPC. So you could implement a rule of, let's say, increasing the bid by 10 cents or 10% or 5 cents, 5%, whatever value you choose, or whatever percentage you choose, depends also on your willingness to be aggressive. But in general, we know, hey, we have proof of concept. We're clearly performing better than the market. We're not ranking in the top 10 for any of those search terms. So that's a clear indicator that we want to be more aggressive or intense, I guess. And let's say we increase the bid by 5 cents, and then I would track week over week, are my percentages for purchase share going up or down? Because if going up, great, that means that obviously our tactic worked. But the thing is, you just have to track it, right? It's just action, reaction, inputs, outputs, but you have to track the outputs of the system that we're running, which is this bid optimization system. So, but in general, you can also identify, okay, based on the search volume, and then if you click on the best performing search term, you can see the total purchases also here in the market. And if your sales, to come full circle, back to the beginning of the video, are going down, your sales are down, then you can evaluate, okay, is this due to the fact that we're losing market share or purchase share, or is this due to the fact that we see, a decrease in demand in the market? So yeah, I believe that was helpful. If you want, you can either do it manually or automate it. Like at the end of the day, who cares? Like it's the same thing. It should just be based on like consistent logic. So in general, I like to do it manually once, and then once you have like figured out a system that is getting results for you, you can always implement this logic or this system into an automation system. But it's a heuristic. It's important to be aware of what a heuristic is. A heuristic is basically the main decision framework of an algorithm, and an algorithm is like 90% of the time is right, but like 10% of the time is not right. But it's just more efficient, because a system that, or like a process that is not that you're not able to systemize is not scalable at the end of the day, because that's just common sense. That's not my opinion, but long story short, you can then go to automation, and let's remember the parameters. We can then go to here, bidding rule, and create a new bidding rule. And then like we said, you can choose the break even, or like the target echoes of the ASIN, and then you could say everything where we're not ranking, let's say 10 to 50, because obviously, let's be honest, top 10 to 50 probably not getting the best purchase share and the most market share. And then what I love about Scale Insights is that you can use search query performance data and ranking data to implement as parameters for your bid optimization logic, which I believe in 2026 is industry standard. Like that's the best market share data that we have. So I like to look at, like we said, everything where we have a better conversion rate than the market, where the conversion delta between ACE and the market is higher than 0, obviously. And then I like to look at everything. You could also implement purchase share parameters. In this example, we saw, okay, all of the targets that we just looked at had like under 10% purchase share. So now you could say, okay, everything with maximum 50%, and then let's say 7 to 2 days observation period. And then you can say you would call this, purchase share. Just use a naming scheme that works for you. Purchase share, increase, ASIN, X, Y, and Z. I would just recommend that you use different rule sets for each ASIN, because every ASIN has a different performance. An ASIN where we're having a relatively high TACOS, we might not want to be as aggressive. So I would always determine the logic of your optimization based on the ASIN level performance, obviously. And then I like to use, you can do percentage or fixed amount. Again, this comes down to your willingness to be aggressive, or how aggressive you want to be. In general, I would say smaller increases are more careful, more conservative, but also slower, obviously. And then you would click on create rule. And once you have created the rule, you would go to, again, bidding rule. Then I would recommend that you choose the ASIN that you want to increase market share for. Again, remember, you can check in the here. You can check in this tracking, how my search query performance data and my ads performance data is improving for an ASIN. So for example, let's say we're building a automation rule for this ASIN, then obviously this was also due to Christmas, but let's just assume this is not affected by seasonality. We see sales are up, market share is up, our purchases are up, and our market share is increasing. But maybe we have identified those keywords. Obviously, these were not the keywords, but we have identified certain keywords where we can still, increase the purchase share for these targets, which should increase the obviously the average of the ASIN. And then I would select that ASIN, and obviously the search query performance data is showing you the average of ads performance of each the average of each campaign. And then you would go here, use the rule, and just assign the rule. And then it's important that you obviously take a note. For example, you could insert a note here, you know, that says, hey, increase, like activated automation, check if sales are improving or whatever. So you can just correlate the causality, obviously, of your actions that then lead to reactions, right? It's just logic, common sense. It's not really just about emotions. Like, it's just data analytics, and we just have to track the data. Otherwise, we're just making assumptions and we're operating on feelings, not on facts. So that's the video for today. See you in the next video. Deuces.